Okay, so we're gonna start this little tutorial. I've already done my eyebrows, but just so you know, for future reference, you wanna take your brush or your pencil, whatever you wanna use, and you're gonna take it from the nose to the tip of the eye, and that's where you want your eyebrow to start. Looking straight ahead, you're gonna take from the edge of the nose through the pupil. That's where you want the arch to be. And then the end of your nose to the end of your eye is where you want the end of the eyebrow to be. And for feminizing the face, you just want to make sure that you have some kind of slight arch, like I've got there, just so it gives it a more feminine appearance. So then I'm gonna do foundation. So normally for you, you would do the facial hair coverage, but what you wanna do is, do your lipstick, do your powder, and then do the foundation, and then do powder, and then if you need to do another layer of foundation, do another layer of foundation. I'm just gonna take my foundation, and I'm just using my hands because I don't like a ton of coverage. If you want to use a sponge or a brush for more coverage, you're gonna get more coverage out of a brush or a sponge. Cool. Concealer. My concealer is drying out, so don't come for me. There's not really a trick to this. You just kind of want to put it where you need it. But what I like to do is take it here so that it lifts that area. You can also take it a little farther down in kind of like a triangle situation, like here across the cheekbones, and fill that area in and then just blend it. It's technically a drag technique, but it does kind of fill in this area here. So like we were talked about before, light brings things forward, dark makes things go back. So we're highlighting this area to bring it out. So fuller cheeks are gonna typically give kind of a more youthful, feminine appearance. And then this is just gonna kind of lift the eye area. And then you can also take a little bit here. And I am using a slightly lighter shade than what my foundation would be, so just for reference. Let's do contour. Now, I do not necessarily want a over contour jawline because my jaw is, I'm a little bit more heavy set, so my jaw kind of blends into my neck, as you can see, because there's no definition there. You have a lot more definition because you're a lot more kind of trim. Then what you would want to do is take it on the jaw mostly and just softly. You want to go like above the jawline here because that's just gonna round out the face. Same over here. You want to take it on top, not underneath. I mean, you can take it underneath if you want, but if you take the contour underneath, it's going to accentuate the shape that you have. So you want to take the contour on top of the jaw, and you want to kind of like, you almost like want to cut off that corner so that it makes more of a soft shape. And then I always kind of take it on the nose just a little bit. And the brush I'm using is just kind of like this like flat contour brush. You could also use a brush like this. It's kind of angled and it's a little bit flat like that. But it's still fluffy. You want something soft. I like this brush because it's skinny, basically. So just if you're going to do nose contouring, use a big brush and do not overdo it because overdoing nose contour is always very obvious. And then I forgot to do this earlier, but just to prevent creasing under your eyes, we're gonna do a little bit of powder. So I'm just using that same powder. This is just my personal one. Gonna powder under the eyes. For blush, blush is super important, especially if you're trying to feminize the face. It's also, if you're gonna be wearing like really heavy foundation or really full coverage foundation, it's really gonna help bring life back into the face. So I'm using like a big brush. You can use like that kind of contour brush if you want to. it's kind of fluffy too, but I've just been using this personally because I feel like it does really well. So I'm gonna take just whatever blush shade you want to use. You don't want to use something like too dark like these, but like these look like tan colors, but they're actually kind of like really nice like pinky nude colors. Or you can use kind of like these pinkier coral colors. Whatever you want to use, whatever color you think looks best on you, you can experiment. But I would start with something a little bit more nude and soft. What you're gonna do is you're gonna start here and you're gonna go basically like straight across the face, like that. You want the focus of the color, sorry, I'm just looking in the mirror. You want the focus of the color to be kind of at the top of the cheekbones, but diffusing and blending inward. And we're not going down, we're going across. And I like to put a little bit on the nose and the chin, and sometimes up here. Just a little, not a lot. I'll just use that same palette. I'll use this one. This is a highlight color. And I'm using just kind of like a big, fluffy, like if you want a comparison, like this is like an eyeshadow brush, and this is my highlighter brush, and then compare it to like the blush brush that I used. So smaller than a blush brush, bigger than an eyeshadow brush. But you can use a fan brush too. This is a fan brush. And also, sorry, the palette that I'm using is, the blush palette is Makeup Revolution. So for highlight, now this is different on everybody, but you want to make sure that you're getting it at the top of the cheekbone here. So you're going to take it on the top of the cheekbone, and you can blend it down a little bit, but not too much. And you kind of want to take it almost like in like a C shape here. Same thing over here. And just make sure you blend out those edges. You don't want like a stripe. You want it to be nice and soft. Take a little bit on the chin, tip of the nose, and then up here. Okay. I'm gonna use a lip liner for this. You don't have to do this if you're using a liquid lipstick, but it does help when you're overlining the lips. Let's just use this guy. So this is just kind of a nude mauve. So what you want to do is, in order to feminize the face a little more, is to shrink this area here, because it kind of makes this area seem smaller. And here too. So we're going to take liner a little bit farther down in the middle of the lip. You don't want to take it on the outer edges. Okay, so I didn't take it too far down on the edges, on the bottom. And then same thing up here. We want to kind of raise this area here and not so much out here. So see how that, even without eyeshadow, that already kind of like feminizes my face a lot. So then we're going to take our lipstick. And if you're not using a lip liner, you can just follow the lip liner steps with just your liquid lipstick. But you can't do that with regular lipstick because it's going to run everywhere. If you're going to use like an actual lipstick, you need to use a lip liner. Because otherwise, it'll just go everywhere. Okay, and if you're curious, that lipstick is Lime Crime Beat It, like B-E-E-T. Beat it. Eyeshadow is the best part. I kind of want to do something neutral, maybe a little smoky, but you can do whatever you want. These are just kind of general rules to follow. Like, eyeshadow is the part of the face where you can kind of get the most creative, so go nuts. But if you're wanting rules for feminizing the face, here you go. We're gonna start with like a transition shade. So I'm using this Nikki Tutorials palette, but you can use whatever palette you want. So I'm using this shade first. It's like kind of like a orangey brownish color. So the rule I said about the eyebrows with the nose to the end of the eye, You kind of want to follow that rule too for your eyeshadow. So if it's easier for you to learn in the beginning, you'll kind of be able to do this without this after a while. But you can take another brush and hold it from the end of your nose to the end of your eye and kind of just follow that line. Just gives you like a guide for where you want to take your eyeshadow. And like, you don't want to leave it like that, obviously. You want to take it and blend it in. So you kind of almost want to create like a triangle shape right here. So from like, if that's the point, you want to take it down like that. Because what that's going to do is it's going to give the eye a lift. It's going to kind of give it more of a feline shape, which is usually more feminine. And then if you don't want that kind of feline lift, or you don't want that kind of shape, you can always just kind of like use this as just a marker for where you want the edge of your eyeshadow to be. And you can take this eyeshadow, that brown shade still, and you can take it across the eye, like so. Okay, and what that's gonna do is it's gonna open the eye up. And then I'm just taking whatever's left on this brush, there's like literally nothing. And I'm just blending like little tiny back and forth, like barely touching my skin and just blending it out. You can also, a clean brush, like a big fluffy brush, so it's slightly bigger, and just blend it out. So see how that's nice and blended? That's what you want. You could leave the eyeshadow like this. In fact, we'll just leave it like that for now. I'm gonna do the same thing on the other eye really quick. And you don't want to take a lot of eyeshadow at once. Just build it up a little bit at a time. I mean, you can start big and blend it out, but it's just easier if you start with a little bit and add more as you go, because it's harder to take it off than it is to put it on. And also one thing to remember, so when you're blending, you don't want it all to be completely blended out. You just want that top area to be blended out. So like, see how this part of my eye is darker than like over here and up here? You want this part of the eye to be the darkest, because that's what's going to give you that lift, along with the shape. But same here, like this part of the eye, this little corner right here is like the darkest part, and then the rest of it's just kind of blended out. You can take a white pencil. White pencils are usually a little bit more kind of noticeable. So if you want something a little bit more natural looking, you can take that nude colored pencil. I don't have it anymore because the last of it I used on you, but I will send you some other ones that are really good. You want to take it on the inner waterline. So the waterline is like this part of the eye, that rim between your skin and your eyeball. So see, like, this eye doesn't look bad, but this eye looks a lot more like open and awake and like fresh and bright. Now, if you're going for something more sultry or sexy or smoky, you can skip this step because this is gonna kind of widen and brighten the eye. Whereas with like kind of a sexy smoky eye, you want more, you kind of want the eyes to look more like this, like squinted almost. In that respect, you could use like a black if you want on the inner waterline, or like a dark brown. But just experiment, play around, have fun. Makeup is fun. You can take, like if the brush is kind of small like this one, you can take this brush and use it underneath, or you can use a smaller brush or like a flatter brush like this one. So this one's a lot flatter. I'll just use this one for now to show you what I mean. Again, like I was talking about, in thirds of your face. So this part of your face is a third, this part of your face is a third, and this part of your face is a third. So we've kind of shrunk this area by accentuating the lips a little bit. So if you want to shrink this area, you can lower the gap between your eye and your nose, or like your cheek, I guess, by taking the eyeshadow down a little farther than what you would think. Now, sometimes with certain colors, this can look a little bit grunge. So what I tend to do in order to avoid that and still get the effect that I want is I use like this kind of color, like a lightish brown or like a neutral brown. You don't use like a super dark color unless you're going for a smoky eye. But it just kind of like, it gives that effect without it looking so like Avril Lavigne. Cool. I'm just gonna take a shimmer color. I'm just gonna use this white. You can use whatever you want. Just like a lighter color, and this is optional too. You can just leave the eye like this if you wanted to and throw on some mascara and be done. I'm just gonna take this on the eyelid. It just kind of widens the eye up even more and kind of brightens it up a little bit. One more thing you can do, if you feel like your eyeshadow's not super blended up here, take like a lighter color than what the eyeshadow you were using to blend with, and usually like a bone color or like a white or like just a light color. Like I'm using this color. So before we were using this color, so now I'm going to use this color. And I'm just going to take that on the brow bone and blend it down. And that just does two things. It carves out the eyebrow, makes the eyebrow look nice and arched. And it also just blends that eyeshadow in a little bit. So for eyeliner, what you can do is take your brush into the eye. And you want to do this with your eyes open because you're like me, you have kind of hooded eyes, which means like you have skin that sits over top of your eyelid. So it's not, you can't just like look in the mirror and draw a straight line out and then it'd be a cat eye. Like that's not gonna work. So what you can do, since you've got that shape from the eyeshadow already where it kind of goes up, take your eyeliner, or if you want to, take it like a dark eyeshadow as like a guide. And this is like a little teeny tiny little angled brush I'm using. Keep your eye open while you do this. And make the line. And then you kind of want to form kind of this like shelf almost. Like, do you see where there's like a triangle here and then it drops down? But when I keep my eye open, it looks like normal. Now, the important thing about keeping your eye open is that you're going to be able to tell where you need to put the eyeliner. So like when I keep my eye open and I look straight ahead, I can tell that like I need to add just a little more here, so that when I keep my eye open, it just makes like a nice line. Now, the darker the color you do this in, the better it will kind of just like smooth out. Like you won't be able to see like that crease there because usually it's black. So yeah, if you use black, you won't be able to see that line there. I like to do it with eyeshadow because then you can just like blend it like that. And usually that's kind of the shape you want to go for. It's like kind of that triangle first, and then straight down, and then kind of blend it in. Now, my eye shape is different than yours, so you're not going to do yours exactly like that, but that's just like kind of a general guide. So practice makes perfect. You're not going to get it perfect the first couple times you do it, so don't get discouraged. Just like keep going, keep trying until you get it the way you want it. You can do this one of two ways. You can either just do the top and leave that bottom line open, and it's just going to be like cute and fun, or if you want to open the eye up even more, if you want to make your eyes like nice and big and wide and pretty, then take a little bit, and I do mean a little bit, underneath on the bottom. See how like that just like makes the eye look much more complete. And then you can do your lashes from here if you want. And if you want me to, I can make a whole separate video on eyelashes because that's kind of much more technical. But again, that kind of just comes with practice. The main thing to remember with eyelashes is you want to put 2 layers of glue. So you want to put a layer on, let it dry, and then do another layer, and then let it dry for a little bit, not as much as the first layer, but just a little bit. So it's still white, but it's tacky. It's not, you don't want to put it on like wet, because then it's not going to stick. Then you want to just like take your tweezers, just kind of place them in the middle of the eye first. And you want to look down while you're doing this. You want to place them in the middle. And then you want to tuck in the sides. Okay? All right, if you have any other questions, just send them my way and I will be happy to answer them. Otherwise, here you go.